Does he fit Alonso's style? Not for me. Xabi Alonso's an absolute dominator when it comes to the training ground, locker room. He's the loudest person. He was that on the pitch, and he is that in training sessions.
It does. Confirmation of the table as it stands. So Barcelona will clinch the La Liga title with a win at Espanyol on Thursday. Ian, your initial reaction to the game, was that good enough from Real Madrid again? I mean, we say this time and time again for them this season.
No, it's been a poor season from Real Madrid, and I think all of their supporters are incredibly frustrated with multiple decisions, team selections, individual performances, tactical decisions, players who have come in and not performed, and especially the young players who have been given their opportunities. You saw Endrick 1v1. I know he's a kid, but still, these are the opportunities you've got to try and take if you want to play at Real Madrid. Arda Güler, most recently, obviously getting his opportunity in the starting 11 to really be the player to impress. Thought he was okay today, but obviously the big names are what's going to grab our attention. A lot of youngsters started in the game today in a makeshift sort of backline. You had Valverde, Ramon, who obviously scored, Asensio alongside Fran Garcia, who played left back. Bit of experience with Modric in midfield, who captained the side. Jude Bellingham was okay as well in midfield. But to me, it's just about what Real Madrid do offensively. And for large parts of this game, they had so many opportunities at them. They had 39 shots in this game. 39 shots in 90 minutes. They had 39 shots. I can't even get that through my head. And 13 shots on target to only score 2 goals, obviously leaving it to the last minute to win the game. There are standards at Real Madrid that have simply not been met this season.
It's going to be a fairly limp end to the season, the way they performed in that game. Barcelona, we think, obviously going to win the title on Thursday.
Yeah.
Are they giving a manager like Carlo Ancelotti, who's enjoyed so much success in Madrid, a proper send-off?
It's very disrespectful for me to criticise Ancelotti, but I think we have to in some ways, right? His team have underperformed, and at the end of the day, he's the one who's in charge of this group of players. He's the one who's in charge of the team selection. He has had to deal with a very, very difficulty injuries along their back line, which has made it tough in major competition, but also made it tough domestically trying to compete with Barcelona at the top of the table. I think the players have let him down in many ways, but I think also sometimes you can critique Ancelotti for sometimes the decisions he's made and not getting the best out of players. How he's handled Vinicius Junior's lack of form in 2025. And I know Vinny Junior's gone on and had way into the double figures of goals and assists this season, and the stats simply look good. But in calendar year 2025, Vinny Junior's been largely disappeared. He just hasn't really been on the map whatsoever. And Kylian Mbappe's been the one who stepped up and basically tried to push this team forward to success. But there's been a lot of tired minds there, I think, at a club like Real Madrid this season. After the success they had last season, they went through the Euros and Copa America. Now all of a sudden you're asked to do it all again. It looked like there was a lot of tired mentality, right? Jude Bellingham, knackered, exhausted. Obviously did so well getting to the Euros final, but couldn't quite get over the finish line there. And then all of a sudden came back tired and didn't show his best performance this season by far. But defence is their biggest problem right now. Makeshift backline, injuries galore. It's been very difficult for Ancelotti to be able to get any kind of performance of a consistent basis for this group of players.
You say Mbappe pushed this team forward to success, and he's certainly done that with his output. He scored a crazy number of goals, 40 this season.
And he's not done
in all competitions. He's not done yet. He's going to win the Pichichi, you would think, because he's clear of Lewandowski now. But does he offer enough in terms of a team player? Does he drag enough out of the other players on the pitch? Does he need to be more of a leader when he plays for Real Madrid?
Great question. And I think when you look at the goals, in many ways, it can lead by example by putting the ball in the back of the net. He did so in La Liga too.
Let me preface this as well by saying that he doesn't have to be. There have been great players in the history of our game, as we know, who just do one thing really well. They score the goals, they make the tackles, they make the saves, and they aren't a team player, and that doesn't matter. But I think in this sense, when the team is playing poorly and so many players are looking to him, they want a bit more out of him than just goals.
Okay, when we talk about goals and being that leadership style, where obviously you can pull the team forward with your goal scoring, getting your team back in games or winning trophies with your goals alone, in that kind of leadership, this guy just scored 40 goals across all competitions in his first season, which is insane. No one's done that at Real Madrid. Not Cristiano Ronaldo, not Karim Benzema. No one's done that at Real Madrid before. So his goals have been vital for them being in games, but in many ways, his goals have overshadowed what has been a big problem at Real Madrid, because they've been out of games for large periods of matches, and he's managed to get them into a game, or keep them in a game, or keep them in a tie. And I think, yes, okay, if we're trying to take away the goal factor and look at Kylian Mbappe, the player, his running, his battling, he does all of that. He does really push. He's not necessarily the easiest person to deal with, I would imagine, in the locker room when you're not winning. We saw that at PSG. Fell out with the coach, fell out with certain players when he had an arrogance about him. This was his first season at Real Madrid, and the only way he could ever walk into a team that just won the Champions League, that just won the Liga, and demand excellence or demand respect as a leader is by scoring goals. You can't walk into that team and start bossing people around. The only person I saw recently do that was Jude Bellingham. He brought that team forward with his goals, with his pushing, with his motivation, last-minute winners, scoring crazy goals to obviously keep them in game and win competitions, and eventually ended up with a Champions League trophy and a La Liga title. But I don't think Mbappe's that guy. He's not the angry type of guy, the aggressive guy that can be a leader out there on the pitch. He has to do it with his goals. But next year, mark my words, you're going to see a different Kylian Mbappe. He's pissed off now. This guy is angry. Didn't win a major trophy this year for Real Madrid. He wants to win a Champions League. That's why he's at Real Madrid. Not just to win Pichichi, if he wins that. He's now leading the way there too. But he wants to win major trophies, and this has been a large, disappointing season for Real Madrid overall. He's maybe been a bright, shining light, but I still think there's more to come from him. Why not?
Absolutely, and he's going to get to work with the new manager. We think that's going to be Xabi Alonso. And when Alonso sits down at his desk at the training ground in Madrid, what are the first few things that he's going to have to think about?
Well, listen, Xabi Alonso, obviously, we're waiting for that appointment to happen at some point. What I have found out is that he has cancelled his vacation now, which means that he's probably going to step up his scouting, which, of course, first and foremost, you've got to bring in 4 to 6 new players. In my personal opinion, that backline needs to be improved. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But the 4 to 6 players, leadership is massively important, defensively solid, making sure that you have new faces to freshen up this group of players who looked extremely tired. Huijsen's been the most recent one who's been linked to come in along that backline. Jonathan Tah
He's going to Newcastle, don't worry about that.
Yeah, maybe he is, but I think defensively the backline's been a big problem for them. Obviously, Alaba and Rudiger's injury's been a problem. Asensio stepped up. Militao's injury's been a problem. Now, Vinny Jr. replacement. I'm throwing this in there because I honestly think that Vinny Jr.'s time is almost at an end at Real Madrid, which is controversial in itself. He was at one point the leader of this group, in my opinion. At the beginning of the season, I thought it was Vinny Jr., but the leader of this group hasn't turned out to be Vinny Jr. There hasn't been a Kylian Mbappe who's the leader of this group. There hasn't been a Jude Bellingham who's the leader of this group. There's no leader of this group. They're just winging it, hoping they can win games, hoping they can win trophies. That's not the Real Madrid way. They need to do it as a team, and this collectively was a shambles of a season from Real Madrid.
All fair comments, but I think the one that will jump out, certainly to me and to the viewers as well, is finding a replacement for Vinny Jr. Is there no way you think that Xabi Alonso tries to reinvigorate him and reintegrate him into the team more?
I love Vinicius Jr. 21 goals, 14 assists this season is quite the achievement for him, and for me to critique him and say that he's not been at his best, it's harsh, but he's not. He's far from it. It looks to me like he's not a team player. When Kylian Mbappe came in and started scoring goals, remember what happened initially? The penalty kick situation, and they started sharing penalty kicks. You know, in many ways, you would recognize the importance of having Kylian Mbappe on your side and creating some sort of cohesion, some sort of chemistry with Kylian Mbappe, who, in my personal opinion, is the world's best player, if you haven't at the best of his ability. Vinny Jr. has fallen out of favour, in my personal opinion, with Ancelotti, with the fans, and obviously with his teammates because he's not been performing consistently well. Now, I know he got a couple of assists in El Clasico at the weekend, sitting in the stands with his popcorn watching this game today. It's disappointing for me. I love Vinny Jr. when he's playing to the best of his abilities, but I think his time is numbered. So, who do you bring in to replace him? That's going to be the biggest question for Xabi Alonso. Does he fit Alonso's style? Not for me. Xabi Alonso's an absolute dominator when it comes to the training ground, locker room. He's the loudest person. He was that on the pitch, and he is that in training sessions. I've watched many a Leverkusen training session. This guy wants to be heard, and he doesn't want to hear from anybody when it's about training sessions. He wants to talk about tactics and how to get the best result and the best performance. And if you've got one player who can be a problem for you, see you later. And I think Vinny could be that guy.
We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure Xabi Alonso's missus probably isn't too happy having her summer holiday cancelled, but sometimes the job takes precedent, doesn't it?